Hello, everybody. Last month, I read the book Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman, and I'm just now doing a review for it. Whoops! So, this takes place in, London, but in below London, the underground London. um, it's described as the first sentence, under the streets of London, there's a world most people could never even dream of. A city of monsters and saints, murderers and angels. So it's all about Richard Mayhew, the main character, who finds this girl in his London, real London, and she's just laying on the ground, bloody, disgusting, hurt. And while he's helping her, he suddenly, after helping her, he gets drawn into London underneath the not real city. And so Dor, the girl that he meets, she kind of draws him into a world of mischievousness. He meets a character named, I'm gonna forget her name. She was a rat, and she was a rat speaker because in this world, in the underground, Lunderground, I like that, Lunderground. Um, they have rats and people who can speak to rats, and they even have somebody called the Lord Rat Speaker. I know, right? Like, I mean, this book, what I love about it is, um, it's so full of Gaiman's typical humor. He has the weirdest things that happen throughout the whole book, just like you would expect in one of his books. They're dark and they're twisted, but they're funny. I think. I mean, I have a really weird sense of humor, so take it for what it is. But anesthesia. That's right. Her name was Anesthesia. Okay, so he gets drawn into the underworld by Dor, meets Anesthesia. They go to a floating night market. No, not a floating market, a night market. It only happens at night, and it's in a different location every night. You have to ask people where it is, and maybe while you're there, you can get some help. And right now, the only thing Richard is really concerned about is getting back to his fiance. But then he's led on I don't know, he goes on a little adventure, and he meets some people who are very, very helpful, and some people who are murderous and bloody. Vandemar and Croup. They are dark, twisted, demonic little rats. And I love them. So, anyway, the things that I liked about this book, it was definitely up to par with Gaiman's typical writing. There's only one book of his I read that I didn't finish it because I just couldn't, and it was The Ocean at the End of the Lane. But that's just me. I've read his other books, and I love them. American Gods was the first book of his I read, and that's what got me hooked on his writing. I love the way he builds up his characters and has them learning things throughout the book. Richard Mayhew is not the same, very much, very, very much not the same as he was at the beginning. He grew from this sort of just kind of weak kind of, I don't know. He wasn't really the type of guy who stood up for himself and what he wanted. He just kind of went along with whatever his fiance wanted, and went along with whatever his job wanted. And then he met Dor and Vanamar and Croup and Hunter, and all this weird stuff happened to him, and he traveled through a cave. And I sorry, my cat was jumping off the couch. And he it changes him into this person who finally, at the end of the book, knows what he wants and what he wants his life to look like. And he makes, I think he, based on how he changed and grew throughout the course of the book, I think he made the right decision for him. It was after he got, like, taken to underground London. Jessica, his fiance, forgot who he was. So they saw her at this museum when he and Dor were above ground. And Jessica was there. And watching the way he watched her was interesting because they were engaged. You know, they were supposed to get married. They loved each other, you know. But she was very bossy and very controlling. And I think she liked being that way. I mean, that was just her personality, you know. And Richard, I think, kind of, I don't know. I think he liked that at the time because he needed that something there to boss him around. But then after he had been down in underground, and after you go to the underground, people from above London can't see you unless you let them. So, like, she can't see Richard. She has no idea that he's at this gallery party thing. And watching him watch her, it was like, okay, he's starting to grow and he realizes he'll be okay without her and that he can live his own life and make his own decisions. And I just like the way that Neil Gaiman develops his characters like that and helps them learn stuff, even if it's, you know, weird stuff like, you know, like tends to happen, you know, like in Coraline, hey, I'm going to learn about the other mother and sew buttons on my eyes, you know. Um, I appreciate that um, there was layering throughout this book. You know, it was like, it wasn't just, you know, everything's given away right away. You learn new things like Hunter as the bodyguard. I was like, oh, Hunter, lady bodyguard. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, Hunter, you bitch. Yeah, anyway, so like, and you're looking and you're just like, oh, okay, yeah, that happened. Um, I I just think he has this way of taking a character and building them up and hiding things about them in little nooks and crannies and revealing these little things about those characters when the time is right. You know, I mean, the only thing that didn't change was that Vandemar and gosh, Vandemar and the other guy, his partner, were they were just out and out jagoffs the whole book. I mean, they were murderers. That wasn't going to change, you know. And they were as they always were from beginning to end. But you know that worked for them. Um, and I think, given what their tasks are each day, them not changing is just it's okay. They don't need their characters don't need to change and grow. I really loved his world building, the way that he built up underground London, and and built all these different ways to transport between underground and London above, and how these places developed so that he knew you could do this in underground London and then come here, nobody would see you, you'd be good and you could just walk around and be like, yeah, man, I'm gonna relax because I just like ganked somebody in underground, whatever, you know. He just, like, everything meshes together well in the way he builds his worlds. He just stacks all these hidden layers on top of each other and brings meaning to more than one place and weaves those two places together seamlessly. I don't know, am I making sense? He's usually I do my reviews written, but I thought I would talk about it this time. And I feel like part of it is just me rambling because I loved this book very much. Um, anyway, I like the way that he can take all these different places and build them into a fictional book that takes place in a real city and build this whole city underneath it that vibes with the real city above it, and the things that can happen in one place then can't happen in the other. And he thinks about all that, and what can these people do in underground that they can't do up here? What can they do up here that's not going to happen down here? And that all collides into one really great built up book and place. And I like that I can see in my head what he's writing when he says something like, talking about birds hopped and fluttered about small cages that looked like they were woven out of television aerials. So now you can just picture bird cages woven out of television aerials, whatever. He comes up with descriptions uh for the Marquis who's gonna go and tap Door on the shoulder, and the Marquis is like this big fat dude that gets killed and then he comes back to life. And anyway, my point is his writing is incredible, and the way he describes stuff is like I can just see it in my head, like I'm just sitting down watching a TV program, and it's just like, nah, dude, it's better. It's a book. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, friends, non-binary people, everybody, I would definitely. This is a 5-star read for me. Um, I I loved everything about it. I loved Neil Gaiman had another hit on his hands. Thank you very much. Read this book.